woke up the next morning feeling better than I had the 2 previous days. My head still had a dull ache, but everything else seemed to be improving. I got moving right away, knowing that I didn't have much time. The powder gangers would be coming soon, and we had to be ready. Doc Mitchell's place was my first stop, as I figured he would be the easiest to convince. I had a growing pit in my stomach as I walked down the street. It was a familiar feeling I had before every battle. Anticipation, anxiety, and fear all mixed into one universal cocktail. Everyone felt fear, but you couldn't let it control you. So instead, I focused on the task at hand.
Seems like wherever I go, it's always the same. Folks just never leave each other alone. Oh, I'm not much good in a fight with my bum leg. And my supplies are scarce, but I'll give you what I can spare.
Just as I thought, the doc offered as much help as he could and would have to do. Next up was Chet, the store owner. He would be a bit more difficult to convince, but I had at least one trick up my sleeve that I figured would work on him. Like any businessman, Chet valued a few things above all else: his stock and his profits. Both would be gone if the powder gangers had their way.
You looking to buy some supplies?
Nope. Just help against the powder gangers.
This again? Like I said, I'm against taking on the powder gangers. My supplies aren't cheap, you know.
You think your supplies are expensive now? Just wait till those bandits take over. Then you'll have nothing, and no one to sell to.
You made your point. I can provide people with some leather armor and extra ammo. Sure hope it's worth it. And I'll be guarding the store while all this is going on. I have to put my business first. You understand.
Figured you'd see things my way. Chet was in, and that would be the hardest of them to convince. Trudy was my next stop, as I had decided not to ask Pete about the dynamite. Explosives were too unpredictable. I didn't need half the town getting blown to hell by that stuff. Trudy was smart, and she would want to know I had a good plan before convincing others to join in. I had spent some time last night going through what we could do, and using what I had learned about the powder gangers the previous day, I had come up with a solution. How do you take on a larger force? You hit them hard and fast, and that's what we were going to do. The bandits were going to come up from the road to the south. If we could ambush them the moment they set foot into town, we would have every advantage, including cover. They would fight unorganized, and we would use that to cause them to panic. Men do all sorts of stupid things when they're scared. I just hoped the plan was good enough to convince the others.
Feeling thirsty? I can take care of that.
I have a plan to take on those bandits. It's a little risky, but I think we can pull it off. What do you think?
That does sound like a good plan. Alright, you seem to know what you're doing, so you can count me in. Let me have a word with a few other folks, and I'll see if I can't round up some more members for this militia you're creating. While everyone does own a gun, we could stand to be a little better equipped. The general store probably has what we need in stock.
She was in, and that meant most of the town too.
Be careful out there.
That was it. The last one I needed. The plan was in place. The board was set, and the pieces were about to be moved. It was now or never, and as I walked out of the saloon, I took one last look at Good Springs. The next 30 minutes would change the town for better or worse. If we won, then the town should be free of the powder gangers. If we lost, well, I didn't want to think about that. I made my way up the road towards the gas station to tell Ringo things were ready. The powder gangers could be here at any moment, so I wanted the ambush set to go. I checked my weapons to make sure they were loaded and ready, and then it was time. I found Ringo pacing nervously. Guess I wasn't the only one.
So what's going on? Did Sunny agree to help us?
She's with us, and some others too.
Well, I guess that means we're ready to go. Unless you think there's something else you can do.
We're ready. At least I hope so.
All right, I'm ready. I hope.
Time to look alive. The powder gangers are here to play.
How many?
At least 6. Joe Cobb included. They look pretty mean.
Let's not keep them waiting.
I'll be set up near the store. Let's hope that the gang doesn't manage to make it that far.
6 or 7 bandits. Not too many. The ambush was set, and the time was now. I exited the little gas station into the hot sun of the Mojave, followed closely behind by Ringo. Sunny was ahead of me, making her way to the ambush position. I could feel the tension, my heartbeat quickened, and the soft, warm breeze blew across my face. I headed for a small rock on the opposite side of the street, and sure enough, I could see the bandits nearly to the saloon. I paused and hid out of sight. Then, I heard it. The first gunshot sounded, and I waited for just a moment to make sure that Joe Cobb and his boys were distracted by the townsfolk ambushing them. That's when I sprung my own trap. I moved out from behind the rock and hit them from the flank. I saw Joe Cobb aiming for someone, and I took a deep breath before squeezing my trigger. He was dead before he hit the ground. I whipped my pistol around and fired off more shots, killing another gang member. It was pure chaos with bullets flying in all directions, and I took down another bandit before rounding on the last one still alive. He pulled out a stick of dynamite but fumbled it. I dodged out of the way and then took aim. As quickly as it had begun, it was over. All at once, the gunfire stopped. There was nothing now but the whistling of the wind. The sounds of cheering came soon after, as the townsfolk celebrated their victory over Joe Cobb and the powder gangers. I took a moment to catch my breath, still stunned at how well the plan had worked. That was when I saw Ringo coming my direction.
I owe you a huge favor for this. Here, these are technically Crimson Caravan funds, but I know they'll understand once I explain things.
Caravan caps. Well, I'll take them. I'm glad that's all finished.
I'll stick around for a bit longer, but I'll be gone in a few days. If you ever visit New Vegas, look me up at the Crimson Caravan camp.
Good luck, kid. Hopefully I'll see you around. And that was it. I took a moment to look over the remains of the battlefield. Corpses were strewn in all directions. We lost one of the town militia, but no one else, and the bandits had been killed to a man. We started searching the bodies for anything valuable and to prepare them to be buried, and I came across a few interesting finds. A couple of small flamethrowers, a couple guns, and lots of ammo. I paused at the body of Joe Cobb. He chose the wrong town to come to. Too bad he didn't realize it before the end. After grabbing what I could, I made my way to the Prospector Saloon. Sonny was waiting for me when I came in, seemingly celebrating our defense of Good Springs.
Hello?
That'll teach the powder gangs to avoid Good Springs in the future.
That's right. We did well today.
Until next time.
See ya, kid. I then made my way over to the bar to check with Trudy.
I'm glad that business is over. I like it when Good Springs is nice and quiet.
Hopefully it will stay that way.
Be careful out there.
You know I will. It felt good to be done with all that business, and I was glad it went well. My next stop was Chet's store, where I wanted to sell some of the loot I had taken from the powder gangers.
That was a hell of a fight. Let's hope it doesn't bite us in the ass later on.
You and me both.
Can do.
Got some stuff to sell. He didn't have many caps available at the moment, so I sold what I could and bid the store owner farewell.
Pleasure doing business with you. Take it easy now.
It wasn't a problem. I had planned on making my way down to Frankie's Guns again, and I knew he'd have the caps to buy what I was selling. That, and I needed to stock up on ammunition. I loved a good gun store. Every man and woman should own a gun. At least that was my opinion on things. Be able to defend yourself was the foundation of freedom and staying alive in the wastes, and a good firearm was necessary for both. I got straight to selling my loot and rearming myself with ammunition. He had a decent selection of ammo, but not much on the side of weapons, which was a bit disappointing. After we finished our business, I asked him a few questions about the area. He didn't have much to say, but I was able to get a few pieces of good information out of him. First, there was a house for sale in the area for 5,000 caps, but it was supposed to be full of old world tech. Could be an interesting investment if I ever came into that much money. Second was a job. I needed caps to track down the men who killed me, and he had a job hunting some rather ornery geckos that had taken up in the area. I took the job, hoping I could come away with some much-needed money and avoid being gecko food. Third was a place called the Underground. He didn't say much about it, and he wouldn't until I proved myself by completing the gecko job. I agreed and decided to come back whenever I had finished hunting down those geckos. I said goodbye to Frankie and thanked him for his help. Now I had a job and hopefully a way to start tracking down my killer. After my spending spree, I was loaded down with ammo and other goods, and I decided to go take a look at the gas station Ringo had been hiding out in. The place wasn't much, but with Ringo gone, I figured he wouldn't mind if I took up residency. It was a much better place than that old trailer I had been sleeping out in, and there was still some loot to be scavenged. I found some unopened Sunset sarsaparilla bottles and a couple of stim packs. But the most interesting piece of loot was in an old cabinet at the back of the building. I busted off an old rusty lock, and inside I found a pre-war carbine. I decided to finish searching the place before taking a look at the rifle. I found a duffel bag with some odds and ends, and then picked a lock on a nearby safe that Ringo apparently hadn't been able to access. Inside, I found a few pistol rounds and some caps, but mostly junk. Better than nothing, I suppose. Finally, I got to take a moment to look over the new rifle I found. It was an 1874 Sharps rifle, a single-shot rifle that fired bullets the size of 2 of my fingers. A gun like this would blow a golf ball-sized hole in an enemy without breaking a sweat, as long as I didn't miss, that is. Quite the find, and I was excited to try it out. Now that I had a new place to stay and a new gun, I decided to get started on hunting down those geckos. The sooner I got started, the sooner I could start chasing down the man in the checkered suit. I had to fight the desire to head out right then and there, as I knew I wasn't ready yet. I had just gotten over a bullet wound to the head and had only started getting my feet under me. I still needed caps and supplies before I would be ready to survive the wastes, and the sooner I got them, then the sooner the hunt would be on.